One of my favorite foods with fun stories to tell is capsaicin from spicy peppers. Capsaicin is the molecule that gives pepper their spice. There are other spices that we know about, such as the spices in wasabi and some other things, but this particular kind of spice is found in hot peppers. In the plant, capsaicin acts as a fungicide, killing fungi that try to grow on it. This is particularly true of the seeds, where capsaicin is in high concentration. Another reason why you may know that if you wanted to cook hot peppers and really add a lot of spice, you might add all of the seeds, or if you wanted to reduce some of the spice from a pepper, you can remove some of the seeds. It also acts in a different way though as well. Kind of interesting that only mammals can detect capsaicin on their tongues, birds cannot. And that's because capsaicin triggers a pain receptor on our tongues that actually activate a receptor called VR1, which stands for vanilloid receptor subtype 1. But VR1 sends a signal to the brain that makes the brain think that the tongue is actually on fire. It sends the same kind of signal that would happen when you touch a hot stove or something like that. This is part of the reason why people describe the sensation of biting into something spicy as being hot, or, oh, my tongue is burning, or something like that. The burning sensation triggers an immune response, which leads to inflammation as kind of a way to protect the body's tissues from injury due to heat. And this is part of the reason why your eyes might water, your nose might water, why your face might get red. All of that is a result of the inflammatory response that's trying to protect your tongue from the spiciness of the capsaicin that your body thinks is actually causing it to burn. Now, why does this trigger only taste buds in mammals and not in birds? This is likely an evolutionary response promoting birds eating peppers and preventing mammals from eating peppers. The reason why a plant would want birds to eat their seeds and not mammals is that when birds eat seeds, they tend to swallow them whole, whereas mammals, especially with our molars in the backs of our mouths, grind the seeds and would kill the seeds and their offspring. It's an advantage for plants to have birds eat their seeds because the seeds carried by birds would eventually be pooped out, again, whole and intact, in a different location, and is a great way to spread the seeds to different locations. But mammals would kill their offspring before they do that. Capsaicin is also the molecule used in pepper spray, again, which is what leads to watery eyes and sort of a burning sensation. But there are some health benefits to capsaicin as well. By triggering the inflammatory response, it's actually a benefit to people who suffer from arthritis. So there are things like capsaicin creams that you can rub on arthritic joints to help relieve a lot of the pain associated with that. The last food that you may have heard about with a little bit of controversy that I want to talk about is coffee. A lot of people think that maybe coffee is good for you, or you might have heard coffee is bad for you. Really, it 100% depends on what accompanies the coffee. It's a little similar to what we saw with the chocolate as well. If you drink coffee black, no cream, no sugar, and definitely not as a frappuccino, there have been some interesting studies that have shown that coffee does have some pretty amazing health benefits. It lowers diabetes rates, reduces the risk of Parkinson's and other forms of dementia, probably related to the caffeine, which stimulates neural activity. It reduces the risk of colon cancer and possibly other cancers, specifically because coffee contains a couple of ingredients. One, with the antioxidants that we talked about before, that can be helpful in reducing cancer risk. But also, coffee, as we mentioned with the chocolate, is also a diuretic. It helps you poop more. And much like fiber that helps you poop more, anything that helps you poop more is going to help eliminate the toxins from your colon, and that can then reduce your colon cancer risk. We've also found fewer strokes in people who drink coffee black every day. And contrary to what you might have heard, it does not stunt growth. The one downside of drinking black coffee is that caffeine is a stimulant, and so it can increase blood pressure, which in somebody who has normal blood pressure is fine. But if you already have high blood pressure, it would possibly have a negative impact on your overall health if you were to consume any form of caffeinated coffee. Finally, they found that espressos are a little bit different than drip coffee. Anything that does not have a filter, like a paper filter, like espresso does, would still contain the oils from the bean. And it turns out that some of those oils can possibly increase cholesterol. This includes some oils or fats known as caffestols, so it's like cholesterol but with cafe instead of cholesterol in front of it. Caffestol is similar to cholesterol and can increase your risk of heart disease. So again, focusing more on the drip coffee as opposed to espressos, and definitely not consuming the cream or sugar, which could eliminate all these health risks completely. I want to wrap up this lecture on nutrition and the calorie restriction diet by talking about some foods that might be good for you. So a healthy diet would include a lot of fruits and vegetables, and also a source of monounsaturated fats like those omega-3s. You could get these fats from fish and nuts and olive oil, and then you would consume a lot of leafy greens and fruits and vegetables as part of a healthy diet, minimizing the amount of protein, saturated and trans fats that you consume, and processed sugars. As we mentioned in this lecture, there are a lot of different diseases in the human body that are associated with inflammation and the inflammatory response. Any foods that help reduce inflammation, or anti-inflammatory foods, could be really helpful in an overall healthy diet. Anti-inflammatory foods contain things like salmon, turmeric, green tea, papaya, blueberries, olive oils, broccoli, and sweet potato, and lots of leafy greens. We've also talked about how antioxidants can be really helpful in the human diet as well, because they eliminate oxidative damage to the cells, reducing the damage and risk of aging. Antioxidant foods include things that are like berries, anything with the dark purple or dark red or dark blue color to them, beans, apples, plums, cherries, and prunes, and also eggplant. So that's it for our calorie restriction diet and nutrition lecture. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a little bit more about how the food you take into your body impacts your overall health.